Page 48, To a Little Bird. In this lesson, they're introducing you to an ornament called a trill. There's a whole bunch of different ornaments. And please understand, people don't agree on how ornaments should be played. Never have, probably never will. Trill is one of those ornaments, and people don't agree on how they should be played. Never have, probably never will. A trill, simply defined, is when you take two notes next to each other in the scale, and you play each note one at a time, back and forth, at some speed. For instance, at the top of page 48, you give a C and a D, and you just play these two notes over and over, back and forth, at some speed. The speed is not so important. The point is, as Chopin used to tell his students, the trill has to be controlled and even. A Liszt could trill really super fast, and some people can. I've never been a good triller. I cannot go real fast on trills. It's just, and you're going to get different fingerings for this. So you might get 1 and 2, you might get 1 and 3, you might get 1 and 4. You could get most any finger. 2 and 3, that's a 4. 3 and 5, 4 and 5. Not so much 4 and 5 because you can't go real fast on those. So the fingering could be most anything. You should do this in both hands, but you can practice this in both hands like a mirror with your hands. So you hear or here. Whatever fingering. Just da-da-da-da-da-da. Use a metronome if you want. Stay rhythmic. You can gradually speed them up later on. It's just controlled and rhythmic is what I'm trying to say. Now the part about where people don't agree on, well, they don't agree on which note a trill should start on. In this book, they're starting the trill on the main note. So look on page 48 in the middle. You see two half notes with a trill sign. The trill sign is that wavy line. I'll talk about that in a minute. The note given in the music is the C. That's what we call the main note. And what you do is you use that note and the next note up in the scale. Whatever the scale is, that's the note you use, and you just alternate those. So if you start on the main note, you're starting on the note given here. A lot of people, like me, we start our trills on the auxiliary note or the upper note. Here, we'll start here. Whichever note you start on, I'll leave that up to you and your teacher. In most cases, I would start a trill on the upper note. That's how I had to do it in college. Every trill I ever played in college wasn't that many, but I had to start them on the upper note. But in this book, they're starting them on the main note, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to play it like it's written. Now, the symbol, that wavy line, there's a TR and a wavy line. Sometimes you just get the TR, you don't get the wavy line. Like if it's just one note, you might get a TR, that's it. Sometimes you just get a wavy line and no TR. So if you see a wavy line going crazy up here, it's a trill. Now, if it's like one note, the wavy line might be real short. A trill could be 3 notes. That's called something else, but still it's called a short trill also. There's a variations of this. We'll get into it. Just don't overthink this, even though I tend to be over teaching it a little. Let's talk about this piece about this bird thing. It's a little over a page long, treble and treble clef. Do you know that both staves are treble clef? One flat in the key signature. We're in the key of F major. Go do the F major scale and the arpeggio. I got videos on it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And cut time. Well, and this is delightful. Cut time, if you remember, is the same as 2-2 because common time, the C, is 4-4, and when they cut it, it just makes it 2-2. But when I first learned a piece of music that's in cut time, I pretend it's in 4-4 time to get it learned. And then once I have it learned and I got the rhythm and all that down, then I'll go back and put it in cut time. So in this lesson, I'm going to talk about this as though it's in 4-4 time at first, and I'll put it in cut time later. Right hand first, let's check our fingering and notes and all. You have these 16th notes, 1 eanda, 2 eanda. 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 1 1 E and a 2 E, and then they want 5 again? No. I don't want to go here to here. That's poor fingering, in my opinion. I don't recommend it. So I'm going for second measure. I'm going to reach down 4. And then cross over. Like so. So again, the first line there. Right hand, 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2, 3, and then going on, thumb again. Reach up. This is more than an octave. If you can't reach it, you gotta lift up and move, but reach out as far as you can, and so you don't have to move that far. And then 4 again. No. And then the last measure, the first line on page 49. Now they give you the trill sign. See, before they were writing the trill out for you. Some composers do that. Now they're giving the trill sign, and the 1-2 is telling you the fingers you use. You use 1 and 2 on the notes, and now you play it the same way as we've been playing it, the 16th notes. Like so. Now go down to the last line, page 49. It's a 1 and 2. Again. Now it's 2 and 3. So again, I can trill on most any fingers. And they wrote out the trill for you there in the last measure. They could have just given you an F with the wavy line across. Same difference. Left hand. Well, left hand, remember, is treble clef, and they want to here. In this position. And there's just not a lot going on because the right hand is busy. Top of page 49, it's a 2 and then 1, 5. If you hand's big enough, you can just reach down and make it 5, 2. Otherwise, and then come up. Just reach up. 2, 3, 1. I like that fingering. That worked out well. Let's go down to the third line here. Now you're here. And then the fourth line is here. And then they want 3. That doesn't work out real well. When I'm here and I want 3, I see no reason to come back into this position because I have a B flat, but I don't have a C. So I see no reason to finger that way. So since I'm here, I'm just going to go 2. And I can do a 4-2 or a 3-2, either one. Doesn't matter. And then they want a 2 again. You can use thumb if you want to. Just stay here. And the reason I'm doing this and staying in this position is because the last line, second measure, I have a C again. I'm just staying here because I know that's coming. So I'm staying in here. We started out in this position, but that's because we needed the C. But when you get the last couple lines of page 49, you don't have a C in the left hand anymore. You don't need to be in this position. So I'm down here. A little closer, I want to stay here. I want to cover all these notes, basically if I can. And I can do that. If your hand's big enough, you can do that. I'll leave that fingering. You figure out what works for you. Just don't be moving the hand any more than you have to. And connect as many of these notes as you can. I'll put the hands together, and it's here. And then here. And then here. You go through and put the hands together. Then go back through the tough spots and get rid of the hesitations. Keep it as slow as you need to, but no hesitations. It's a steady beat throughout. Then we add in the articulation and the trills. Actually, we've been doing the trills all along. Generally, I add the ornaments when I do the articulation. That's just the way I do it. You can do it any way you want. So typically, I would have left out these trills when I'm first trying to just learn the piece. I would not do the trills. Of course, when they write out the trills, you do it there. It's written out. But like at the top of page 49 in the last measure here, normally I would not do that trill at first. I would just play the half note. But then when I do the articulation, I would add in the ornaments, which would include the trills. We've already done the trills, so we're just doing the articulation, and that's the phrasing here. lift up. See, they have you using 5 here to do that because you have to lift up to move. However, you could probably connect both of those measures together and make that all one phrase. However, it kind of sounds like a statement reply. With the first measure, a statement, reply, statement, reply, restatement, and in that case, each measure is a phrase. So you lift up between each measure. If you take it in 2-measure phrases, then you'll connect it 2 measures at a time and then lift up. You have to decide how you want to phrase this. I'm going to go ahead and do it the way it's written. So I'll phrase it with each measure, but only because if I were to actually play it, I might change that. Then once you have the articulation in, then I think about the dynamics. MF at the beginning is mezzo forte, which is moderately loud, and that's the melody, which is the right hand here. This left hand needs to be in the background. Keep it soft. It's very light. Left hand's light, and the right hand's sort of heavy. And that's basically the only dynamic they give you through the whole thing. Well, isn't that delightful? Well, once you get into it and you know the piece and you start feeling this melodies, feeling the music, you can adjust this dynamic a little. You're going to stay in that area, but you might get a little louder. Maybe I put in a crescendo there in the first measure here. I go to here. That's my target. And then come down. And again. It's a way of interpreting the music because it doesn't give you anything but an MF at the beginning. But you experiment on how do you feel the dynamics should go. Then the speed. Well, this is where I put it back in cut time. I already know what the rhythm is. I played it. I can feel the rhythm. So I can feel the rhythm. I don't have to count it anymore. So now what I want to do is I want to feel this in 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, because it's in 2/2 time, cut time. 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't know about that. It says allegretto. Well, keep in mind the speed they give you, this tempo, allegretto. That's between moderato and allegro, but it's not the speed of the beat we're talking about. Because the speed of the beat in allegretto is about 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, try doing this 1, 2. So I can't go that fast here. I can't trill that fast. So I can't go that fast in this piece. I gotta slow it down. Well, that's okay because as I said, it's not the speed of the beat we're after, it's the overall feel of the piece we're after. What is allegretto here? To me, that's fine. That's plenty fast enough. Even though it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. See, it's like it's off. Either they need to have it in 4/4 time at allegretto, or they need to have it in cut time at andante or something. 1, 2. More like an andante. It's actually kind of slow for andante. So it's off. But we want it to feel like an allegretto. Now there's another way we can do this. We can speed this up. And because I can't trill that fast, 1, 2, 1, 2, then I can't play these 16th notes. I have to play 8th notes. Just trill. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm only playing 4 notes. And a trill, because how many notes you play in the trill depends on, partially, depends on how much time you got. So if you're going quick, you don't have much time, you can't play as many notes. I can only play 4 notes. I have to play 8th notes. Or I slow the thing down where I can play it like it's written, and the beat it's not really an allegretto. It's just, you know. That's one way of playing it. If you can only go here, if that's as fast as you can go, close enough. As I said before, you go back through this book for years to come and play these for fun, and you'll find you'll be able to play them faster and better as you're doing it. Enjoy them. I didn't talk about the road map as to where do you go when, because at the bottom of page 49, there's a DC all fine, and you remember DC means go to the beginning. Don't ask questions, just go to the beginning. All fine means go to fine. If you look, the fine is at the end of the second line on page 49. That's where the thin and thick bar line is. Remember, that's the symbol for the end of the piece. So you go back and you do all that again. Yeah.